Welcome, everybody. This is a What's Up For You call, and it is May 21st, 2024. So before we get started today, again, as I was saying, there's just a lot of energy moving between last month's eclipse and right on through all of these, solar flares. This fluctuation of energy has been pretty hardcore and pretty consistent. I thought we were going to get a little bit of a reprieve, but seems like that reprieve was fairly short-lived, and we'll have another cycle of that. So hopefully you guys are all taking really great care of yourselves and are putting yourselves first. And really tapping in. What do you need? What does your body need? How are you feeling? Yeah. So let's go from there today, and we'll see what wants to happen. So Sharon, do you have questions for me?
I do. So this first question is, my daughter is experiencing a lot of anxiety and anger in general. She also has panic attacks at school and a cough for the last 2 months. What is going on for her energetically, and how can I support her in this, and what does she need?
The challenge of this time is that so much of what's going on for all of us, and especially energetically sensitive children, so much of what's creating this is, you might say, more unseen than it is seen. As human beings, we look at the seen world and we say, well, is it this? Is it that? We might look at relationships and say, is it this? Is it that? But so much of what's going on right now is vibrational and in nature, and it is unseen. Yeah. And so, as I look at her, especially when you're talking about over the last couple months, this energy, anything that's emerging over the last couple months, or quite honestly, anything that's been emerging within the kids since January of this year, probably has more to do with unseen factors than it does with seen factors. So I want to look at one other thing here. Sometimes having a conversation with your children about that, letting them know that so much of what they feel in their bodies has really nothing to do with them. It's not personal. As children always take things personally. It's like, what could they do differently? How could they have helped? All of that kind of energy. So even having that conversation, with your child about it not being personal. I think it's also a good reminder to you and to everybody else here that this energy isn't trying to punish anybody. It's simply moving through, moving out that which no longer serves us. And in many ways, we can also say there's nothing to fix or even really change here. Believe me, it's over since January. There's been a lot that I've wanted to dive into and try to rearrange, you might say. But the fact is that these bigger waves of energy are simply moving out that which no longer serves. Anxiety can be part of that. Physical symptomology can be part of that. Anger, frustration, all of that is just built up energy, you might say, that's been stuck in the different fields of the body. And it is working its way out. So it's not that we have to figure out how to get it out. The very fact that it's up is letting us know that it's working its way out. So it's not what's coming up, but how do we meet what's coming up that really matters? Yeah. So can we meet ourselves? Can we meet our children with a little love, compassion, and understanding? Yeah. let them know that they can meet themselves with a little bit of love, compassion, and understanding. That's a great skill set for any child to learn right now. Yeah, I hope that helps. I was literally just before this call having a conversation with my daughter in Texas back and forth. And the same kind of thing was coming up. She goes, Mom, I'm just so tired of feeling angry. I'm so tired of being angry and feeling anger in my body. And so we were just working through that same thing. It's like a little love and compassion, a little forgiveness, for yourself and for others that you feel have wronged you. It's a little bit of this energy goes a long way right now.
I want to ask about my daughter, Ayla. She is 13 going on 14 and so scared to grow up and has lots of intense and uncomfortable ICD issues that takes a lot of time. How else can we support her besides Presence Process and the Amazing Integration series?
You know, First, what I hear her say is she wants to know that not everything is her fault. And I'm not suggesting that that's being placed upon her, but again, as a 13-year-old, it feels like this to me. As a 13-year-old, there is an awful lot of pressure being felt that whether she does it this way or that way, whatever choice she makes, it's going to be her fault. The result of that is going to be her fault. I'd also, because she is 13 and because she is part of, your family dynamic, it's also really helpful to look at how your 13-year-old or how the 13-year-old of her father may have felt around responsibility, about taking responsibility. If one takes responsibility and it doesn't work out uh, in a way that is perceived to be favorable, is that her fault? Yeah. So I would look at that um, for everybody involved. And it's interesting. It's like the fear of growing up is really a fear of making a mistake. Yep, a fear that she'll make a mistake and that her life won't be the way she would really like it to be. And so again, those kinds of questions are also great to ask. Where did any of us as 13-year-olds think that our life was going to look like one thing and it looks like something else? Or maybe we were 13-year-olds and we were looking at our parents' life and thought, oh, I don't really want it to look like that. But I'm afraid I'm afraid I won't be able to make the right decisions so that my life turns out differently than theirs did. It's all wrapped up in that kind of energy. And so let's take a look at all of that. And then also let's clear that from all of our 13-year-olds, because I can feel a lot of 13-year-olds popping up right now and going, maybe this is where I want to stop, because and my grandson that belongs to the daughter that I was just speaking with is 14. And so we'll add him to the mix here too. So all right, so let's just clear that energy. We're just everything that just came up because we just talked about what we talked about. We're just moving that energy up and out, clearing that from our fields, clearing it from her field. There we go. Okay. Yeah, and lots of love, lots and lots of compassion being fed back into that same energetic space. So it just doesn't recollect something else. We're just replacing a lower frequency information field with a higher one. There we go. Okay. All right, good, good, good. All right, what else?
Okay. She wants to know, she's been asking Ayla's higher self what groups, programs we can support her with in upcoming school year. She's definitely is scared to go back to school, but we can organize something else for her. And I've had a lot of other people having the same issue, so I think it's
Right. So what's interesting about this is that, and I've noticed this with everybody right now, humanity wants to be close to that which is loving and compassionate. Yeah. And energetically sensitive kids are, we can say they're afraid to go back to school, and that there's a truth in that. What they're afraid of, or what they're uncomfortable in encountering, is a lack of love and compassion. And so again, you're talking about a teenager. Yeah, probably the most brutal time in just about any child's life, and especially if they're feeling a little uncomfortable anyway. And the reason it's so brutal is because very often children have not been taught that love and compassion is more important than being the most of this or the most of that. Yeah. And so again, we can also have deep love and compassion for ourselves, that as we're looking for any programs, as we're looking for any educational settings, as we're looking for anything for our kids of any age, we're looking for that which lights them up. And that which lights them up is always going to be that which feels like love and compassion, and that which sparks their love and compassion. So questions like, how can we be loving and compassionate towards these other kids at school? Yeah. As we're teaching the kids that, then they kind of take their attention off where they're not feeling loved and compassion, and start knowing that they are it. They can offer it. Yeah. It's an amazing time right now, because humanity is really getting, and has been for quite some time, just getting done. They're done with the status quo. They're done with one-upmanship. They're done with competition. They're done with all of it. And energetically sensitive kids are right there at the foreground of all of that. They're done with all of it. They just don't have a reference point, or they don't have very many models of how to step beyond that. So the more we provide that model, the more we're doing great things for our own inner children and for our own children. Yeah. The more we are like, how can I be love and compassion in this scenario? Yeah. Kind of takes us back to what we are in truth. We are love and compassion. We just forgot it eons ago. But the good thing about right here, right now, is it's all coming back. and we all get to help seed that back into humanity's consciousness. Yeah, I hope that's helpful.
All right. My autistic toddler is getting set up with an assisted communication device. What are your thoughts on this helping or hindering verbal language development?
It won't hinder verbal language development. There's really nothing that can stop a kid from communicating in whatever way they can communicate. And if I had my speech pathology hat on today, as well as my multidimensional communicator hat on, I would say that, you know, the easier we can make it for someone to communicate what they have inside of them and what they want to share with the world, the easier that starts coming out in other ways as well. So yeah, it won't hinder. What I will say is that when we look at these devices, when we look at any alternative form of communication, whether that be kind of more like high tech or low tech, you know, kinds of opportunities, let's really keep in mind that we're utilizing that technology so that what is on the inside of this individual, on the inside of this child, can come to the outside. Yeah. So lots of praise, lots of grace, lots of you know, how amazing it is to hear their voice in whatever way that voice comes into being. And that's just going to keep motivating the child to share more and more of their voice. So some of you have heard about the young man that I'm working with right now, who's 17, who I've known since he was 5 and maybe 6. And he just decided within the last year, since January actually, that he wanted to verbally communicate. And he's been a speller his whole life. And we've been running through this like every Monday night, you know, we're working through this. And it was so great because last night, I mean, it just makes me smile. But last night he was in this place where I was giving him phrases to say, where he was just, you know, repeating me or his mother. And last night, for the first time, he started changing the wording around. And so he would say like 4 or 5 word sentences, but he'd go, yeah, no, you didn't hit it right on the mark. My voice says this. You said it this way. I'm adding this to it. And it's just so encouraging to hear it come from him and have it be so fluid right now. So yeah, it's exciting time for that. And we want to hear their voices. So much amazing stuff to share. So yeah.
All right. What do you think are the top 3 attitudes one should have for the healing of a child and also the family in general when you have non-speaking autistic with medical challenges and who is energy sensitive?
Top 3, say that part again, top 3 attitudes.
Attitudes.
Yeah, well, definitely assume competence because I have heard from more kids over the last 30 years that regardless of how they were perceived, they were feeling, sensing, knowing, hearing everything. So let's assume that they are competent. We just haven't yet found the way in which they can demonstrate that competence. So assume competence. Assume that your child's not their perceived disorder. Yep, that child, regardless of what the labels are that go on top of that child, let's assume that they're still your child. They're not the label. They're your child. Yeah. So let me see what last attitude. the attitude that you haven't done anything wrong, you know, that you haven't done anything wrong to, you're not being punished by having the child that you have. You're being invited to a new way of being, to another level of consciousness, to a deeper sense of love, compassion, and understanding. Yeah. I think those three attitudes will, whew, I can feel it. It goes pretty far, pretty far. Yeah.
A couple of weeks ago, my left knee got dislocated and popped back into place while I was throwing my kid up to celebrate potty training. This incident left me in excruciating pain and inability to bear weight for a couple of days. I still don't have full range of motion and unable to perform certain activities that involve flexing my knee, left knee, or weight bearing. Can you provide any insights as to what this may be related to? Thank you.
I have to ask, do you have is this a old knee injury that's come back to, is there something else from earlier on? Can you answer that, just yes or no? Is it an earlier injury?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It's like, yeah, okay, because when I looked at it, we can look at it from psychological, I mean, there's so many vantage points we can look at it from. But again, back to what I was saying about this energy right now, and this energy moving through and clearing out old wounds, old structures, old patterns. I think that this energy is simply, I wouldn't give it more energy than that, because it looks to me like your knee wants to heal. The very first thing I heard and saw when I checked in is, this is old, it's coming back up again. So it just literally moves through its whole healing cycle. And I just heard, like, literally, like, pay it no mind, like, add nothing to it, just nurture it, support it as it finishes up its healing process. But whatever caused it to pop out before, some of the emotions or some of the energy that happened when the injury first happened, that might be coming up as well. But again, there's nothing to fix, there's nothing broken. I would just nurture yourself through it, because it's doing its own healing. Yeah.
All right. I would like to know how to support my daughter with adopting to a new city, new country. Also, how can I protect her from other people's energies? She is like an energetic sponge marrying back upset children at her therapy center. Thank you.
Yeah. It's like, first let's assume that it's very normal. It's very normal to have, for anybody, to have anxiety and stress when they move to a new location. So let's first make this about, it's normal, and she's exercising a muscle, or she's flexing a certain part of herself. She's you might say she's flexing the muscle of resilience. She's learning to develop more resilience. Just by making this change, by all of you making this change, you're all kind of going through a little bit of resilience training, you might say. And when we speak to the kids from this vantage point, we don't add fear, worry, and concern. So let's say, you guys have moved to a new country, you've moved to a new space. Your child's already energetically sensitive. Yep, is the scenario. So what we do as parents is very often we kind of go, oh my gosh, my child's energetically sensitive. And now I'm adding this on top of it. I'm adding this move on top of it. And we immediately go into fear, worry, and concern, right? We go into, I'm going to try to fix this. I'm going to try to navigate this for them. I'm going to try to, where the bigger opportunity is, your child is learning resilience. Your child needs to learn resilience because they're energetically sensitive. And so as we talk to them from that vantage point, it's like, wow, yeah, this is really challenging. And this is challenging for, this would be challenging for just about anybody. And asking, asking what kinds of support, what kinds of nurturing, what kinds of things are supportive for you. And if this child is too young to answer those kinds of questions, don't think this one is, but if the child is too young to answer those kinds of questions, what would have supported your own ability to develop resilience as a child in the same situation? Yeah. It's like we're learning strategies, we're learning supports, ways of supporting ourselves. We're learning to love and nurture ourselves through these experiences so that we don't get to the place where we avoid these experiences. Because it's the very fact that we go into these experiences that build that resilience. Yeah, does that make sense? I hope that's under. Yeah.
Okay.
She's quite capable, is what I want to say. Sorry, Sharon, I didn't mean to interrupt you. She's quite capable. And I know that there's not a parent on the planet that wants their child to suffer or appear to be suffering. And when they are suffering or when they're appearing to be suffering, that's the great teaching opportunity. That's the great opportunity for, well, how do we build a little resilience here? Yeah. Yeah. Build in capability. Yeah. Or acknowledge capability because it's already there. All right. Sorry, Sharon.
All right. I recently feel a particular tension in my face, which I'm not sure if I am creating it with too much energy and third eye, or it's just energy moving upwards. I'm feeling tired at times, even when I've had enough rest. Any thoughts?
X-class solar flares moving through, and most of us don't even think about these kind of electromagnetic energies, but we are electromagnetic beings. And as electromagnetic beings, anything, and as sensitive electromagnetic beings, anything that's going off in that vein is going to have an impact on us as well. So, and take it from me, it's like I'm not a person who rests well. It's like I want to keep going, I want to keep moving, I want to keep things, moving in a particular direction. And this energy is, nope, you're going to rest. And then you're going to rest some more. And then you're going to rest some more. And the mind goes, honestly, a little batshit crazy, I gotta say, when your body is going, it's time to rest. And the mind goes, yeah, but, and part of the reason that the mind doesn't like that rest and wants to be able to boycott it and just keep going beyond is because whatever the mind thinks it has to do in order to keep things moving, or whatever it has been conditioned to believe it has to do, in order to receive or in order to move through life, that energy is also coming up right now. Yeah. And so something is, that's why you say to somebody, you say, okay, start a meditation routine, meditate for 15 minutes a day or 5 minutes a day. We have all good intentions, and then the mind goes, no. It's like, can't do that. It's the same thing with resting. It's like, your body says rest and your mind says no. Yeah. And so we're going to rest. Yeah, we're going to rest. Even if it's not, I'm taking a nap, but I'm closing my eyes for a few minutes. Yeah. I'm standing in the sun for a few minutes. The other thing I keep hearing for you too is, and we were having this conversation on the New World Portal yesterday, and water, water, water. Bless your water. Yeah. Water, we're made up of water. Water is receiving all the information that is changing and transforming on this planet. You might say it's the first element to be really receiving the imprint of all the changes that are happening. So as we take water and we bless it, as we literally ask that water to help support our physicality through this change, just watch, it'll do it. It sounds however it sounds, but water is a consciousness in and of itself. And you'd be amazed at how your intent going into that water can support the waters of your body as well. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
My daughter has lots of digestive issues in her belly, and her belly is always bloated, lots of constipation, undigested food, food sensitives, etc. Could you please check if there is something we could do energetically to help her heal her gut?
Yes and no. So there are some there are some physical factors. It's almost, I almost see it like almost like an allergic reaction kind of thing. Like, when the gut receives the same information over and over again, even if that information is good for someone, it's like, if that's the information they receive over and over again, it's like, I don't know why, I've never heard this term. It's like digestional fatigue, if that's even a word. But it's like the same information is going through that digestive tract. The digestive tract kind of says something along the lines of like, I can't process this same thing over and over and over again. And so all of a sudden it's like the whole stomach starts to get distended. That bloating, probably, gas, and just any ways of protecting and discharging that kind of repeated. So there might be something as simple as shifting up the food that she's taking in might be helpful. Even if it's a slight change, that might be enough to give the digestive tract something else to pay attention to. The other thing is I'll go back to what I was just saying about blessing the water and blessing the food, so that's the energetic part that you're asking about. That blessing of the food literally changes the molecular structure of that food. And the mind kind of goes, yeah, that's a nice idea, but I'm not, superhuman, or I'm not whatever. It doesn't, that intent moving through your body, blessing that food, changes the vibration of that food. And that slight vibrational shift might be enough to help reorganize that the fatigue that her digestive system says that it's having. So blessing the water, blessing the food, having her bless the water, having her bless the food would also be helpful, just so she can start to feel her own empowerment in that. Let me see. That is the energetic support, because it's like a vibrational shift. It's like the vibration that's been going in has been a certain vibration, consistent. And then with the blessing of that food and water or anything that goes into making that food, you've just amped up the vibration of that, of that offering. And that looks good. That looks good. Okay.
Is OCD therapy good for energetically sensitive kids?
I want to know more about that. So, does this person actually have OCD behaviors, or is this person energetically sensitive and are attempting to avoid OCD behaviors?
It says for OCD, yes.
Oh, for OCD. Okay, yeah. So this is a conversation that's coming around a lot right now too, like Sharon said, and how do I want to answer this? Hold on just a second. So through my lens anyway, OCD is typically a way for a child or for an individual to manage all the informational input that is coming through, right? So energetically sensitive individuals have access to fields and fields and fields of information. And when those fields of information feel like they are too much, then an individual is going to go about trying to organize that information in the best way they can. It can also be true that what I notice is with OCD, a lot of times there will be multiple fields of information coming in energetically. And let's say that the parental model is different than the information that's coming in. So let me give you an example. So my nephew experienced OCD for a while, and so very energetically sensitive soul, beautiful young man. All this information's coming in, and all this information is very broad, very expansive. It's coming in through a lineage, through a parental model that is much more restrictive. Yeah. And that restrictive parental model, again, no blame or shame of the parent. It's just that that particular lineage, let's say that lineage has a lot of fear, anxiety, concern, worry, stress around, around cleanliness or around this, that, or the other thing. So this kid's picking up all this information from all these different realms and realities. That information is trying to filter through a a more narrow passageway of fear, worry, and concern. And then you get a combination of both. You get the fear, worry, and concern that leads to the organization of all this information that's coming in. And so that's where you get a kid who might wash his hands 25 times a day, or in my nephew's case was, working through like, where shoes had to be placed. Can shoes be in the house? Can they not be in the house? How many times do they have to be placed in the right position so that they're clean? Whatever those things are, right? So one of the things that I always tell parents that have children who have that expression is absolutely look at what it brings up for you. Yeah, this is where I'll go back to the presence process. I've seen the presence process be very successful in supporting families who have children who have kind of OCD kinds of behaviors. So, and the reason for that is because as we start to unwind some of those more restrictive lineage belief systems, the child then has more, I don't know how else to say it, they have a more open channel to funnel that information that they have access to through. Yeah. So Presence Process by Michael Brown has been really amazing as far as that. To answer your question, back to your question about is OCD therapy helpful? Absolutely. And there's all kinds of therapeutic models around OCD right now because it is so prevalent. I mean, psychologists, psychiatrists, coaches, people are working around OCD all over the place. The only thing I'm going to add to the mix is if that OCD support is only directed at the child and not directed towards the whole family, you might not receive the kind of shifts and changes in that behavior that you're really looking for. Yeah. Because it's not just about the individual, it's about what the individual is capable of receiving, and then the information field that that individual is trying to funnel that through. Yeah.
Okay. Recently started homeschooling my son in an untraditional way, following his lead. I also have a full-time job, taking it really well in mind, but physically I may get too tired. How should I keep gaining energy and stay regulated to help my son with his mission?
Well, we're gonna value you. We're gonna value those moments that, again, any parent who homeschools and works and is wearing multiple hats, you are gonna get fatigued, you are gonna get overwhelmed, you are gonna get frustrated. Um that's part of being human. It's also part of knowing when you need a break and not guilting yourself out of taking that break. Yeah. Um, there's all kinds of information coming in here all together. Hold on just a second. Mhm. It can seem like what I'm about to say is just makes sense. It's just common knowledge, but just because it's common knowledge doesn't mean that we heed that inner voice when we hear it. So when you're having those moments of I'm exhausted, I need a break, when you hear yourself say that, it means take a break. It literally means take a break. It literally means, even if it's I got to stand outside and, put my face to the sun for a moment, or I need to go hug a tree, or I need to, get out for a day if that's possible, or a couple hours if that's possible. The as we value ourselves, and as we value that inner voice, we teach our children to value themselves and value that inner voice. Yeah. And it's one of the things that will never get taught in any school anywhere, almost, unless it's a very unique and very evolved school. And so one of the beautiful things that we can teach the kids by homeschooling is how to care for themselves. Yeah. And I would stay right there. It's really important. It's really important. We're not just teaching academics. We're teaching a way of being in the world, a way of valuing self. And that is as important, if not more, than some of the academics. And it sounds like you're already doing a very alternative approach, which can help with that all the more in this case. Yeah. Yeah. I just want to say, love you, love you, care for yourself, love yourself. Yeah. Listen to that voice. And it's not a silent voice. It's not even a quiet little one. It's every now and again, you'll get that feeling like, oh my God, I need a break. It's like, this is too much. And that's your inner voice. Yeah. Take it. Take the break.
Okay. I had bilateral wrist surgery that is taking a very long time to heal. Is this due to my energetic body? Is there anything in my diet that I can modify to feel better?
Okay, hold on a second. It's like the wrist surgery looks, the bilateral wrist surgery looks like it went really well. It looks like it went really well. What's remaining is some of, you might say, some of the more subtle emotional energy that goes with that. And hoo-wee, this is a big one for you. That was a big surgery for you, and not just in this lifetime, but in other lifetimes as well. It's like I immediately wanted to grab a hold of my wrists, and it's like almost like I could feel myself wanting to almost like hold my hands onto my body. It's like, so let's clear something, because we can, from another lifetime, because this is literally like, chopped off at the wrists. Yeah. So let's clear that from that lifetime. Oh, yeah. It goes right up into my heart space, right? I can really feel that moving. So let's clear that energy. One of the things that you might have had as part of this incarnation, because of that last one, that whole thing around giving and receiving, that energy of giving and receiving, like how close will you allow someone, that might be very refined in you, how close you allow someone, how much you kind of hold this kind of position, palms out, like stay right there, and all that kind of energy might just be a cycle that you've been that you came into this lifetime to work through because of this other lifetime of, like, literally, I mean, I'm hands detached from the wrist, right? And whatever that lifetime was and that energy around that situation, how that in some ways might have broken your heart, you know, whatever that scenario or that story was as to why that happened in the first place and how that impacted your heart. And therefore you came into this lifetime going, oh, no, 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 no. It's like, stay right there. So let's clear all this energy. Let's clear it from this lifetime. Let's clear it from that other incarnation. Let's forgive yourself in that other incarnation and anybody else who might have played a role in that dynamic. Anywhere there might be a fear that the way I'm hearing it is like that your heart might not actually, what I hear is like, I can't figure out this giving and receiving stuff. You know, it's like, I can't really figure it out. It's like, how do we give? How do we receive? You know, but beyond that, figuring it out, the mental part, there's this energy of, and no matter which one of those I do, it's like there's a bit of an anxiety or a fear that your heart won't feel full. Yeah, in either giving or receiving. There's a little bit of an old, and it's no blame, no shame here. There's nothing to do about it. It's just a recognition that it came from another incarnation, it came from another lifetime, and it's something that you designed in this lifetime to kind of be able to be in awareness of. So let's clear it all out, like, clear it all out so that your heart can feel full. Yeah. Okay, this one I do want to kind of bubble this one up to just make sure that, yeah, okay, cool. Let's clear it, return it to before it was ever created in that lifetime, this one, and not to be recreated in any future experiences. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Whoo. It's like it's like everybody like open up our hearts, like bring our hearts back. It's like, oh yeah. Let's, yeah, letting our hearts be full. Yeah. And not knowing how they get full, but just letting them be full. Yeah. Okay. Do you have one more for me, Sharon? Or
No,
do you want to?
that's the last one.
Okay. That was the
I
last
do want to say, if anyone is interested, the New World Portal is open.
a couple things. One thing that I do want to add is we're probably going to run another integration series in the next, I would say, by the end of next month sometime. And especially based on some of the questions that were being asked today about the kids and that kind of thing, that's a really great series to be a part of too, if you're interested in that. So let's go ahead and see what wants to close out here, or how we want to close out. Yeah. Um, the only thing I'm really hearing right now is let's keep it simple as we move through the rest of 2024 and 2025, and as especially because this energy, like I say, there are more unseen factors that are impacting our human experience than ever before. I mean, literally than ever before. That means that there are more unseen factors impacting your energetically sensitive children than ever before. And so let's keep it really, really simple. Let's not take things as personally. Yeah. And let's also see if we can't use the different opportunities that arise as just that, as opportunities, as teaching moments, you might say, or deepening moments. Um, you know, basic things. Love usually always supports, yeah, compassion, understanding. These kinds of things are, you know, can we help to reprogram ourselves to meet different experiences with love, compassion, understanding, both for ourselves and for others, instead of the old program of meeting it with fear, worry, and concern? Yeah. Yeah. And when we're in fear, worry, and concern, can we meet that with a little love, compassion, and understanding? Yeah. We're just in this flipping amazing time. And I say this to people in the New World portal all the time, different classes all the time. In times past, we would have left our physical bodies, come back, and restarted in a whole new energetic template. That's not happening this time. This time, we're living through that change of that energetic template. And for those of us, all of us who are energetically sensitive, we're feeling that more than most. And as we feel that more than most, sometimes we feel like we're being punished more than most, because that's being experienced. And again, you might see it through the lens of those shifts and changes are opportunities for us to meet ourselves with love, compassion, and understanding. Why? Because we have the capacity to do just that. And the more we do that, the more we set that as the template, and the more that people that are coming in behind us slip into that template. Yeah. Yeah. And that includes our kids as well. So, all right, everybody. I hope that was helpful. Enjoy your month, and I'm sure I'll see you guys around the block. Bye.